this. I think I forgot to copy the. Can I just copy from the? Can I just copy it from the browser? And now I got to do a new command. New. Okay, so all right, so now I got to post on Patreon, right? Oh, this is so lame. Okay, live stream. No, because they don't have the. You're the only one with the thing, right? Okay. I can just skip the. Should I put it? What is the picture thing? Next. Okay, so 1109. No, 1108. 1108 at 9:59. No, 9:45. 44. I'll do 44. Schedule. Okay. So it should come up. Fixed live stream 1108. So what was the question again? All right. So after typewriter, how is the new studio going? Okay. Okay. All right, just let me know when I'm up. It's not working. So what does that mean? So what does that mean? Yes. Okay, where is edit? Like I don't know where it is. I don't see it. I don't see that. So I got to go to my page. Okay. That's what I was asking when I said, can I just take it from the browser? Fixed live stream. Edit post. Okay, so texted it to me. Let me see this. Oh boy, I don't like this at all. How do I, okay, and it's just, how do I copy the, okay, control copy link. I don't think that's going to work, but I'll try. So just next, and then 9:47. Oh boy, this is so crazy, man. 11:08. What's the date today? It's the 8th. 11:08:24. It says select a date that's in the past, and it is 48. No, it won't. It just won't let me do it. Wait, it says please select a date that is in the past. Release date. You can edit the release date of published posts to change where they appear in your feed. I don't know what this means, bud. I don't know what this means. It won't let me do. I don't know. It's just a phalanx of brokenness, and I'm very, very dumb and very, very slow. It'll take me 1 hour to figure out what the fuck's going on. So what do I just start from scratch and do another? Okay, so my page, create, live stream, YouTube. Live stream V, add a title. Okay, now what I do? It's next. 11:08. Yeah, pretty sure. Is it up? Can you tell? You can hear me? All right. So the question that, sorry about that, but that's what it's like to be me with computers. I cannot tell you how many safety practices overall we tested and tested and tested, but I'm going to show you how we fixed the Russian space station. So this is how we fix it. And then you never use it again. Don't buy whatever that company is. Blue, whatever. It's garbage, I think. That's my guess, is that it was the mic. It's like the thing with these with computer stuff is it goes obsolete very fast, even though, mics should last 100 years. Okay, so here I am. The last question that I left off on was about the studio. How's the new studio going? The new studio, with the exception of the microphone not working ever, the new studio is great. Next live stream, I'll have a new microphone, I promise. The studio is great and fast. I can get my work done faster with the studio. And that's a question from Ivan. It's hard transitioning to get here, and it's hard to not be distracted by procrastinating from working on videos, by just procrastinating to make work, make shelves. What are your opinions of gentle masculinity, and how are you teaching X to embrace vulnerability? I don't really know what gentle masculinity is. And this is from Khalil. And I'm just teaching X how to be strong and brave, but I think his mom's teaching him vulnerability. Evan H asks, I have a second kid on the way and was curious how the adjustment from 1 to 2 has been and how it affected work-life balance, creativity, etc. It's like a hidden distraction because it's not so much of an earth-changing event having a second child. So you're just like, oh, it's just going to be tired. So I'd say my experience, the second child kind of snuck up on me with, as far as my energy consumption was concerned. Felix told me about his friend who saw me at REI last November. Oh, and what's the story behind the iPad Speak and Spell in my studio? I wish I had it here. I forgot it at home. But I have a iPad with the Speak and Spell keyboard as the screensaver. And the Speak and Spell was this like calculator gadget from the 80s with a handle on it that was red, and it would say spell adjacent, and then you'd enter on the keyboard ADJACENT, and then you'd hit enter, and it was like, that is correct. Now spell, and then it'd give you the next word. It was like a spelling. I don't think it worked that well as far as teaching you how to spell, but it was amazing to have a gadget wherein you could type the letters in and it would say the letters. And a Speak and Spell was featured in E.T. It was like part of that communicator thing that E.T. built, and that's what made the Speak and Spell famous, I think. And it was made by Texas Instruments, I'm pretty sure. And so it was like a red square with like a handle, and I bought a iPad protector for my son's iPad, and it looked just like the kind of like a Speak and Spell. So I put the Speak and Spell, I downloaded an image of the Speak and Spell keyboard and put it on my screensaver so that when you turned it on, it looked like at first glance like a Speak and Spell. I don't know, it's just like 80s nostalgia for me. So that's the story. What type of military box? Oh God. So it's this first aid kit box that I use. They're very hard to find when I find them. I mean, I haven't really looked for one for years, but here's the numbers. And it's a first aid kit, and it's American Army surplus. And I don't know, they get more expensive and more rare the further you go because it's Army surplus. It says EPC Incorporated, plastic size B, case, medical instrument, and supply set. I doubt they still make them because, like, again, but they're waterproof with a gasket on the inside. Tattoos versus no tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, but I think they look amazing on some people. I don't think I have the good skin tone for it, and I'm not like jacked. I think, I don't know. They're just not for me, but I like it when other people have them, and it seems like I've never seen like an MMA guy who didn't have tattoos. And those guys are amazing. How do you balance when to customize surf? Oh, from Jason, and that tattoo question was from Drew. Jason, how do you balance when to customize something versus the need to change in the future? For instance, I've wired up lightning docks in the past for iPhones, and now they change. Oh, yeah, with computer stuff, like I made this beautiful microphone system where it hangs on my wall, and I had a customized thing so that and now this crap microphone doesn't work with this computer, so I don't know, I guess I used it for a couple of years. I don't know what happened with the microphone, probably just as a software thing. So I guess just do crappy work when you're making something for a bit of technology that is going obsolete, like any phone stuff. They're going to change that charger port. It's going to be just the magnet thing soon, so you have to buy all new chargers. So I think that's the way to go. Like, do it fast and kind of don't put any love into it if you're just customizing for this digital stuff for stuff that goes obsolete. Yeah, that's my opinion of it. But yeah, I get it. You wired up the lightning docks for the iPhones, and now they changed the charger. So Nathaniel asks, how many messages did you get this week saying the fourth turning has arrived after the election results came in? We're almost done with the fourth turning. We're like 15 years into I think the fourth turning started. No, we're 16 years in. It started in 2008, the fourth turning. So by my estimation, according to the book, where we are in this current fourth turning is we're in, I think when Trump got shot, I think that was the second regeneracy. And the regeneracy is when one of the factions, so we're kind of like a divided nation, but where one of the factions sort of takes the majority, right? So Trump was like barely elected in 2016, and he didn't even have the popular vote, and then he wasn't elected in 2020, and then they shot him, and I think that was the second regeneracy. I think that shooting him put a lot of Americans on Trump's side, and then he won the popular vote and the electoral vote, which hadn't happened in 20 years. So I think that's the second regeneracy, which means the majority. I'm paraphrasing, and I might even have this wrong, but the majority have now, like, one of the factions has chosen a side. And according to the Fourth Turning book, the next thing to happen is called the consolidation. And that's when something happens in the United States where we all put our political differences aside and we focus on defeating that phenomenon or enemy or whatever. The last consolidation was the attack on Pearl Harbor. That was the last Fourth Turning. And then you know what happened after that. And then the one before that was, I think, it was probably when Lincoln got elected and the South seceded. And then the United States of America said, oh, no, you don't. And then the one before that was probably the signing of the Declaration of Independence, or maybe it was when Lexington and Concord. It started the American Civil War. The American Revolutionary War. So, according to the book, and by my estimation, which isn't worth anything, probably the next thing that's going to happen is some consolidation event where we're all in it together. Maybe, who knows what that is going to be. Matthew asks, I'd love to know what meaning you derive from building things and why it fulfills you. This is something I feel deeply but struggle to express. Yeah, I'm procrastinating so much with this new studio because there's so much fun stuff to build. And I have a builder who's this guy, Charlie, who's the patron, who is an excellent builder, and he will build. I don't need to build anything because I have that production in progress, but I still can't resist. And I don't know what it is. I think it's because you can get in the zone, you can get in flow when you're building. And we have we're like birds and we love to make nests and stuff. So Vincent asks, do you like Woody Allen's work? And it's one of those things where his personal life and all these accusations against him and stuff has sort of poisoned the well for me. Like I used to love before I heard all of these allegations against him. I used to love all of his work, and it still stands for me as excellent, incredible work. But now I kind of don't trust the point of view of the work because I'm like, this might be coming from a really bad guy. And so I don't revisit it. I just kind of let it go from my mind, but he's a genius. Nathaniel asks, what project would you love to do for yourself right now if you could take as long as it needed to and you didn't have to film it? Oh my God. I think I would just tweak this studio out and get really taken away by it. That's what I would do. Definitely. Just keep doing the studio, keep working and refining and refining and refining. That's what I would do. But I got to make the videos, man. That's what I'm here for. Joshua asks, do you think the self-gratification of achievement in the American dream leads to depression and a general stance of fear/loathing towards everyday life? How would someone fight off the constant comparison one does when one worships authenticity? Do you think the self-gratification of achievement? Self-gratification of achievement. No, I think the ease of American life is what leads towards fear and loathing towards everyday life. I think it's too easy here. And for a lot of us, it's too easy. And people don't understand that freedom is the freedom to choose your struggle. And you're supposed to work very hard at something. And that's wherein you find the meaning in your life. And that's wherein you feel fulfilled. It's not really about achievement. I mean, achievement gives you a little buzz every now and then, but I think it's more like the process. How would someone fight off the constant comparison one does when one worships authenticity? Um, how would someone fight off the constant comparison one does when one worships authenticity? You got to find something you love to do and let it kill you. That's what what's his name said, Bukowski. Yeah, you got to find something difficult to do and do it. And it doesn't have to be a art project. It doesn't have to be making films. It doesn't have to be making paintings or music or any of that stuff. There's a whole world out there that needs your help. So, yeah, that's that's what I think. Um, yep, I think so. What is the age gap between you and Isabel? How did you meet, and which three qualities do you most love about her? Age gap is 12 years. Sometimes it's 11 years because I was born in March and she was born in June. So it's like 11 years. Sometimes it's 12 years. Three qualities. Well, she's gorgeous. She's extremely smart. And she went to an all girls high school. So she has this kind of like can do attitude. Like she can kind of do anything. She's like this competence. So those are probably the my favorite three things I love most about her. Oh, and she has great taste and kind of an excellence standard. I love that about her. Do you have any writing tips? Sit down and do it. Oh, I shouldn't be giving advice on this because I've been so negligent. Although I did write a little today. Just sit down and do it for at your best hours. For me, it's like first thing in the morning. Zero distractions with an instrument you love to write with. Maybe it's a computer. God help you if it is. Maybe it's a pen. Maybe it's a pencil. Maybe it's a typewriter. Um, and then just make a habit out of it. That's what everybody says. It's just work. It's just like ditch digging and, give yourself 3 hours a day to do it. What are your reflections on the presidential election? Will your parents benefit from the no tax on Social Security? My parents will be 70 and 20. Oh, this is from Seo. My parents will be 70 in 2025, and they will be able to keep the 25K in the taxes they would have had to pay each year based on Social Security income. What do you think about the leaders of Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Sweden, and many other countries calling immediately after him winning the election? Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Sweden. What do you think about the report of the statistic that 20 million more votes were cast for president? 2020. I should be reading these out loud. Sorry. What do you think about the report of the statistic that 20 million more votes were cast for president in 2020 than in 2024? I know you're not political, but you have great perspective. I heard that yesterday. I heard on some podcast they said that there were 20 million more votes in 2020 than there were in 2024. I don't know. It was pandemic. It was like the kind of the peak pandemic. So I think people had less to do. That might have had something to do. That's the big event I can think of that would lead to that. I think there were more. I don't know. Were there more mail-in ballots? Is that something that happened? Like, it's just easier to do a mail-in ballot. It comes right to your house. I don't really know. I don't really know. And then I think it's gracious that the leaders call after the president wins. I think that's a nice thing. I also like, and I know he's a bad guy and he invaded a sovereign nation and all this stuff, but I also like that Putin refers to all the other leaders as his colleagues. I like that. I think that's kind of cool, classic. But I don't know about this tax stuff. I guess I like that if my parents get to pay less taxes. I guess I like that. I feel like the government's pretty great at wasting money. My brother was in the Air Force, and he's told me some stories about how those budgets get spent. and it's pretty sickening. So I think it's better for the people to have the money than for the government. They're not very good at things, I don't think. So Entropy or 3Trumpy asks, hey Van, I'm in college for electrical engineering. Have you ever considered getting more into electronics work? You know, what drags me into these things is I get it stuck in a problem or something's broken and then I have to to get myself out of it. But the older I get, the more kind of reliable a lot of the things in my life get. And then I also I have to be more productive in my video stuff and my writing stuff. So I would love to learn all of that. And I don't have a good brain for retaining things. Like I'm very slow. Like I still don't remember. Red is positive. Red is positive on the battery terminal. Pretty sure. Black is negative. That took me like 30 years to remember just that little thing. And I'm not 100% sure that that's true, but I'm pretty sure. So, you know, electrician stuff, like you blow up the house. And then electronics, is that like playing with computers or like soldering? I like to solder stuff, but like soldering little motherboards and stuff, I can't do it. I don't have the patience for that. But you ever consider getting more into electronics work? I don't know. I think, yeah, I mean, God, I would love to know how to do electricity. I really would. Um, and that time may come. Who knows? Patrick asks, can you give us some advice on how to film ourselves building stuff like you do? How many camera angles and types of scenes should we have for the video to be effective but not too overwhelming to make for a solo creator? Thanks for the tips and great content. I'm a big fan of your work. Okay, thanks, Patrick. I would just say film each step from a different angle, but you only have to film the end of the step, really. So you don't have to film the entire jigsaw cut. You just have to film the jigsaw, the last 3/4 of an inch. And then that makes it easier to edit. And then just move the camera for the next shot. And then you can do time lapse if if it's like super complicated or takes too long. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out myself on the best way to do it. And then, you can never get close enough. As close up as you can get every once in a while, I think. Robert, I'm 33, commercial filmmaker, and I'm leaving the business to start an electrical apprenticeship with the goal of eventually running my own electrical business. I'm planning to document this journey on a YouTube channel, sharing the daily grind and lessons along the way. Someone who's built a career on sharing real life journeys, what advice would you give for capturing this process authentically, especially when it's a hands-on trade with a steep learning curve? I would say keep them short. Did I read that so that everyone can hear it? Robert is becoming I think an electrician. He's going to document the journey, and he's asking, what advice would you give for capturing this process authentically, especially when it's a hands-on trade with steep learning curve? I would say just reflect on it. Maybe at the end of the day, try to keep everything very short, like for 1 or 2 minutes, just reflect on it into the camera on maybe not every day, maybe every couple days or something, and then go back and get the shots that you need to support the visual things you talked about in your summation. And then don't film as you're learning. Go back and film the thing that you learned. And you have plenty of time. Good morning. How do you decide if you're going to buy something, either a single part or the whole object, versus making it yourself? Can you talk about how Amazon online shopping has affected your Yankee thrift? Yes. So if the net time, it depends how urgent the thing is. Like I had to do a sign for the live stream this morning. So I made like this rig that I hung right here out of a little blood. Like, you know, I had to make a sign that said the live stream's happening soon. So how much time it takes, like real time, depending on how the emergency is. But if I can just buy it uh, and get it in a non-emergency situation, then I usually do that. Like especially filmmaking equipment, it's gotten so cheap now. Um, and then if it doesn't exist, then I like these lamps. There's no such thing as a good clip light, and I really like the clip lights. And like a good clip light doesn't exist. See, there's a clip on it. This is like a heat lamp from Home Depot, and you have to like do all this customization to make it right. In that case, I just have to make it because it doesn't exist. Um, and no, I don't want to sell them. I don't want to manufacture them. That whole business is a nightmare. I know people who do it, and you just get ripped off by some Chinese company, and they undersell you and bury you, and that's the end of it. And then I think my Yankee thrift. I use it for time more than I use it for money because now I'm not as broke as I was when I was, growing up and for most of my life. And now time is the more valuable commodity. So it's definitely affected. Amazon has definitely affected my Yankee thrift, but thank God for Amazon because I can just get I'll have a new mic tomorrow, for this Saturday delivery for this thing. So, yeah, so I think it's just allowed me to invest time in other things. Okay. Does your Toyota Do you take your Toyota truck for camping off-roading? As the ARJ is asking, since it's mostly rebuilt now, wondering if you start to record more adventures with it. For New Year's, my boy and I went camping, and it was pretty cold in the desert. We went to Borrego Springs, and we were at altitude. And we were camping, and we camped inside it, and I idled it all night with the heat on to keep us warm. Even though we had sleeping bags and stuff, it's still cold inside a car. And then I got like a warning on the Murphy gauge that the idle speed was not adequate enough to charge the battery, but it was fine. Like I just drove it around and it recharged, and the error code went away. But yeah, we did a few days of camping. It was really fun. And I'm getting kind of old. I'm kind of sick of camping. I like to go off-roading whenever I can. There's like OHV trails around here in California, off-highway vehicle, but not very much. But I think we'll probably do a Baja trip where we'll fly the girls to a nice hotel, and then X and I will drive through the deserts and stuff and meet them at the hotels. I think we might do that because I've done it on a motorcycle and it's just so fun. But my boys always wanted to go camping, and there's camping right there in Malibu at Malibu Creek where you can build a fire. They have a fire pit, and they book them up on the weekends. They're really booked on the weekends. You just can't get them. But maybe we could do a weeknight, and he would love that. Would you ever release the lost Neistat Brothers videos? They're on YouTube. Last I checked, Neistat Brothers. Oh, I put and I also put them on. Some of them I put a bunch of them on. If you check the feed, I put a bunch of the Neistat Brothers stuff on Patreon. I'm trying to chip away at it. Yeah. Usually I do it now. Post it without director's commentary and then with director's commentary, my commentary. And that's from Moss6510YT. Tristan asks, what are the most valuable tools in your arsenal for woodworking? Are there any tips you haven't covered in videos you would give someone getting started? Okay, the most valuable tools are the screw gun drill, cordless drill, jigsaw, and then the bits and blades for both. Those are the most valuable. Sandpaper, combo square, pencil. Those are what you really need. And then a pull saw is great, which is just like they're Japanese. Tajima, I think, makes them. and they cut on the pull stroke. They're very thin, but you can cut really fast through like pine with them. But I think for power tools, you want to start with jigsaw and drill and the bits and the blades. How do you know if a story is worth writing about? Oh, that's a great question. How do you know, from Tyler, how do you know if a story is worth writing about? I think if you just can't stop thinking about it. There's like Norm Macdonald, the comedian, said, he would obsess about a subject matter and then he would kind of turn it into a joke. And then when he had the joke so that it worked, he would forget about it. He wouldn't obsess anymore, and then he'd move on to the next thing. I think something like that. Joe asks, what advice do you have for an aspiring writer? I am 31 years old, have been pondering the commitment to try to become a writer for a while now, mainly because since high school, I have had to put a large part of my life on hold because of repeated bouts of severe illness in my immediate family. I've taken a few college level courses in writing and aced them all. I even had a screenwriting practicum with the creator and head of writer of Friday the 13th of the series, who said that I'm a great storyteller and that he has great faith in me as a writer. I have been trouble forcing myself to sit down and write. I have been the go-to driver, mechanic, and yardman for my dad's trucking company for the last 10 years. So I think that this trouble is mainly from difficulty accepting that my creative output is just... Oh, yeah. I would say spend the $200, get the masterclass series, the subscription to masterclass, and watch all of the writers. And some filmmakers are writers, like David Lynch is also a writer, so I would watch all the people who write as part of their job, and these are all masters, and they all, to a man, to a woman, they all say the same thing. You have to sit down and do it every day. That's it. You have to sit down and do it every day. I think the minimum is about 3 hours. Yeah, maybe an hour and a half if you can get it, but you want to be 3 hours as your kind of minimum. And then in emergency, you do. There's no way around it. That's it. You have to sit and do it. And if you have a natural inclination to do it, you should probably do it. But then kind of don't expect anything from it, I think, is the key. But that's what they all say. They all say it's a job like any other job. You got to get strong at it. You got to get good at it. And the only way to do that is reps. So sorry, that's what you got to do. But, that's fun. Make your own little like writing nest somewhere, your little writing setup. William asks, hey, Van, my question is, in your opinion, what must a boy learn in order to become a man? In other words, what's the difference between boys and men? I think we don't have it in America. We don't really have that rite of passage that most cultures have, like the bar mitzvah. Like that's a thing that helps a boy become a man, where you have to do all this studying that you just hate. And then there's a big ceremony. And then after that ceremony, it's amazing because you see the 13-year-old Jewish kids, they're part of the circle with the adult men when they're talking about things and discussing things. They're not the kids playing anymore. There's that, like, in the prayer, I think they say we put away childish things, and I think that's a part of it. And now, like, we're not religious in my family, and I kind of wish we were, but I try to do adult situations with the boy that we have to get ourselves out of. Like, we go dirt biking up these big mountains and we got to do our own water, and we got to, get ourselves out of situations, and we get hurt and we get really tired and stuff like that. And I've always done like grown up, like play toys. So fire, like he's been lighting the fire in the fireplace since he was like 18 months old, with like a blowtorch. And he's been doing like metal smithing, which we do with non-lead based solder and a blowtorch. He like makes these sculptures, just lots of stuff that's like the kid version of the adult thing, and just teach him not to be afraid of stuff. But yeah, the rite of passage is like, I didn't really have it in my life. I don't think. Maybe sobriety was, but I mean, I was 37 years old, just too old. But yeah, I think that's what That's what all the cultures in the world for a very long time, all of the successful cultures, they all have that, the Maasai have it. Um, so that's it. That's what I think. Uh, oh, I skipped one. Wendo. How was your experience of being young, naive, and cast out into the world for the first time? I'm 18 and moved into an apartment just a few months after graduating from high school, and I'm struggling finding direction, purpose, and motivation. Basically, do you have any advice for an unmoored kid like me? Well, you moved out at 18, man. Good for you. That's hard. That's like the first and most important thing to do, I think. So congratulations on that. Find direction. I don't know. Maybe try to make a lot of money, try to do something hard. Purpose, responsibility is purpose. So find something to do wherein you're dependent upon, and that'll give you purpose, helping other people, doing something. And also listen to what you're listen. You know what? I would listen to that guy, Scott Galloway, even though he predicted the election all wrong. He's got a lot of, because he was like born, I think, to had like a single mom growing up, but he went to the California school system like when Berkeley was free, when Berkeley was like free. And then he made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and then made a lot of money again. And he has great advice. He says, following your passion is for rich people. Like if you're rich, go ahead. But if you don't have money, don't follow your passion. Find employment in a industry that has 90% employment, and then be in the top 1% of that industry. That's one of his big life advices for career. But God, yeah, when I was 18, I went to college and just kind of slowly learned how to become an adult. But I wouldn't go to college now. It was different back then. It's a different world. Nick asks, hi, Van, relative newcomer here. I was wondering, as you move out of your lifeboat and into your warship, what skeleton crew of tools will you be keeping in your arsenal at home to keep that place working? That's a great question. So I have this tool wall, and I basically kept all those tools, and then all of the hardware, like the screws and stuff, I just rebought it all. They're $5 for a box. I just rebought all the screws. And have this really well organized little screw drawer here that's miniature. And then, so the tools on the tool wall is like a screw gun or a drill. I call it a screw gun, but it's actually a drill. A drill, a heat gun for doing heat shrink, jigsaw, drill bits, pull saw, combo square. God, if I had it in front of me, I could tell you, but I kind of rebought a whole bunch of that stuff. Like I have, although I had multiple drills, so I just took one of my multiples or two of my multiples from home back here. So there's still one at home. But yeah, basically duplicated, and yeah, that's my skeleton crew of tools. Jigsaw and screw gun, I think, or jigsaw and drill. What are the pros and cons of living in the Topanga Canyon area? Oh, that's a good question from Gavin. The pros is all five senses. It's beautiful. It smells beautiful. It feels beautiful. It tastes beautiful. It looks beautiful. It's a wonderful place. It's a real community. It's like an old school American community, and there's lots of immigrants in my community. Like most of the kids on my kids' soccer team, their parents have like some kind of accent. It's weirdly, this is what Isabel says, it's strangely convenient because the canyon, the roads through the canyon connect the PCH to the valley. So we have very easy San Fernando Valley access, and San Fernando Valley is where a lot of your maintenance stuff is, all your car maintenance stuff, all the construction and hardware stores and grocery stores and great restaurants and blah, blah, blah. That's all in the canyon. If you live in Pacific Palisades, you got to come to Topanga to get over the hump. And if you live in, you know, Santa Monica, you got to go I think it's the 405, the 101 to get over the mountains, to get over the. So those are the pros. I mean, and it's just I just love it, and I love the people, and there's a little village in there. The cons is the nature. Nature is the enemy. I know people like love to romanticize nature, but nature wants to eat you and kill you. So, you know, there's only a couple spots in the canyon. Let's put it this way. There's a lot of places, including my house and my road, where there's no signal. There's no cell phone signal. So you don't have the kids on their phones all the time, which is kind of cool. But then you also don't have any cell phone signal. So you got to use your Wi-Fi. There's so many dangerous, deadly animals everywhere. I've killed 5 scorpions, like hidden in my children's toy stuff. We've killed 5 rattlesnakes on our property, 4 or 5, I can't remember. I don't know how many black widow spiders. There were landslides that closed off the boulevards that you had to get 20 extra minutes of driving to get to the PCH. And 20 extra minutes is huge, because if you have to do it twice a day, you know, that's 40 extra minutes a day. Thank God I didn't have to. The fires are terrifying. And the fires, what precedes the fire usually is a power outage. So you don't get warning. You don't, like last time we had the Woolsey fire, a neighbor who wasn't a neighbor, she lived far away in Topanga, knocked on our door and was like, there's a fire coming. You guys need to get ready. And then you have to evacuate to like wherever. So it's, I would say it's the nature is the thing. And you're kind of remote, like the police, it's going to take them, God help you. I mean, God, you know, if something goes wrong, it's going to take them 15 minutes to get there. It's very dark at night. That can be a pro and a con. But overall, it's just amazing. And it's very expensive up there. The real estate's expensive. And then the zoning's really hard. Like you can't really build anything. There's a lot of people like, oh, I'm going to buy some land and stuff. No, you're not. Okay, you're going to buy some land, but they won't even let you put a tent on it. So there's that stuff. But we live with it. Diaz asks, hope you're having a nice time on your side of the world. What are your favorite Americana type books you'd recommend to a 25-year-old Aussie? I'm super keen for the new Bob Dylan movie coming in the holiday, and the trailer interested me in that aspect. Oh, my brother Dean Neistat was like the stunt coordinator on that movie and taught Chalamet how to ride the Triumph in that movie. So my Dean worked on that thing. Americana books. Read the Cormac McCarthy book, Blood Meridian. That's a masterpiece. Read it. Blood Meridian, Cormac McCarthy. Read the short stories of Hemingway. I think there's a collection called like Green Hills of Africa, something like that. Read those. I have a cool book there's a new Bob Dylan book called The Philosophy of Modern Song, which is very good. And then I have this other, I can't remember the name of the title. What's your favorite Americana type books you'd recommend to a 20? Just go down the Cormac McCarthy rabbit hole and read those books. There's one called The Border. That's excellent. There's like a trilogy. There's like The Border, Blood Meridian, and then a third one. I can't remember the name of it. Those are excellent. And then, I don't know. I love books about the West. Yeah, that's some good ones. That'll get you started. And then Pavel says robustness, usefulness, and design ratio when building shelves. Oh boy. I get the corner braces. I make my shelves with corner braces. I get the 2-inch, 3-inch, and 4-inch. And then I don't go more than like 3 inches beyond the corner brace. And then I just custom everything. And then they're pretty strong. I mean, I think you could stand on almost all of the shelves we build here because they're anchored into studs. Warren asks, what advice do you have for reestablishing good living relationship for a new roommate that you do not know very well? What advice do you have for establishing a good living relationship for a new roommate that you do not know very well? I would say have a meeting every so often, and it can just be you go out to a restaurant or something, and just have policies. I know it sounds horrible, but just like expectations, like who takes out the garbage, like what is to be expected of the communal spaces, privacy, what's the best way to have the place to yourself. Um, I would say keep that stuff out in the open. Don't let resentments like, oh, this guy's leaving his shit in the sink. Oh, that's the dishwashing policy. What's that going to be? The bathroom cleaning policy, like all of that stuff. I would establish it. I don't know because I don't really remember what it's like to be young, but one of the things I sort of remember is that young people think that they're children and that they don't have to do anything. It's like, dude, I don't need to do it, man. Like, whatever. That's lame. But like being an adult is like taking on all the responsibilities that you can and acknowledging that they exist. So that's what I would do. I don't know. And then I would say, don't become friends with a roommate unless they're already your friend. Just try to keep it strictly business. James asks, if you have time, I'm a YouTube creator and have been approached by a director to make a documentary about my restoration practice. What advice would you have about working with a traditional terrestrial TV company and protecting your interests? Should I get an agent? Would you go down this route again? I mean, the thing that happens is you just get your time extremely wasted all the time. And I think you're going backwards if you're going that way. It's like there's going to be all these bosses, all these people changing it. Though there's this great advice that I heard David Letterman gave to who was it? I was just listening. I want to say it was Jerry Seinfeld. And Letterman said to Seinfeld, just make sure you fail doing it your way. And I don't know that today's TV environment allows for that. And you're not really going to make much money, I don't think, doing it. Like that's the temptation. But I think at the end of the day, they just waste your time. There's so many people, so many hangers-ons, so many lawyers. It's just backwards. I mean, it's just backwards. Unless you're a specialist, then maybe it'll work. But I don't know if you're just the subject matter. Have been approached by a director to make a documentary about my practice. I don't know what that means. I don't know the details of it. It sounds like, I don't know. That doesn't sound right. Just make sure they pay you. That's one of my advice. Just make sure they pay you and be upfront with the paying. But that whole world is a mess and it's dying. It's like asking me advice about starting an AM radio show. It's like you're going backwards, pal. Like, no, you want to do a podcast if that's your thing. Broadcasting voice is your thing. You want to do a podcast. So I would say TV is kind of backwards. In fact, I have a famous, I won't say who it is. I'm having a meeting with a very famous TV series director, writer, director, maker. You've probably all of you seen his work. I'm meeting with him on Tuesday because he wants to know how to go my way, how to do it, how to go from TV to YouTube. Because, I mean, this election, one thing that happened with this election is that the shift from I guess you would call it the legacy traditional media to the internet media, the internet media is now the king because the guy who did all the podcasts and did all the, all the, the Rogan show and the Theo Vaughn and Sean Ryan, the guy who did all that stuff incessantly, he won. And then the lady who like went on 60 Minutes and did like Call Her Daddy, and then maybe she did a couple other podcasts, she lost. So I think that, this is the era for this. And good riddance, I think. Thoughts on Elon and Joe Rogan pulling for Trump makes me sick personally. My comment is this, like what Michael Jordan, when they asked him why he didn't talk about politics, he said something like Republicans buy sneakers too, something like that. So that's my opinion. They have their reasons. Charlie, hopefully I'm not too late. You are not too late. I know you speak highly of trade, and your last video was a beautiful endorsement of it. I'm looking at a career change and becoming an electrician. Quick pros and cons you've heard of in that industry. I think it's important. I don't know. I can't advise on things I haven't done. So I think the key, though, is you sort of have to live adjacent to a rich area, right? If you're in the trades, okay? I think you have to have in your sights to be an entrepreneur, that you're going to own your own electrician's practice or whatever your trade is. I understand you have to start out as a jobber, like working as a job as an apprentice, to learn the stuff and to to make money in the beginning. And then I would say just the thing that contractors sort of take for granted, having been on the consumer side of hiring contractors or watching Isabel do it, is the reliability. Is they're so in demand that they just book tons and tons of job and get to them when they can get to them, and they don't kind of clean up. They don't I mean that figuratively and literally. Like they don't like the finishing details. You kind of have to hound them, and then they're not really going to bother. So I would say be very, very reliable. Show up at such and such a time. Never be late. All of that stuff. Give a lot of wiggle room with how long it's going to take, because it's going to take a long, long, long time. Probably charge by the hour, and then be very, very rough with the estimates. I'm just talking from like a consumer side of things. But I don't know. It's sort of maybe one of the things I worry about is like, am I just, because I like making things with my hand, am I just romanticizing these trades because I don't do them for money? Even I was a fabricator for Tom Sachs, but that was kind of a different world. That was like, we weren't making the money that those guys get. We were making like a half or a quarter what an actual tradesman would make. But then there was so much glamour. Like they don't fly electricians to Berlin and put them up in 5-star hotels in Paris, So, so I don't know if I'm just romanticizing it, but it seems to me, I mean, I just love people who work in the trades. Like there's guys out in front of me right now doing HVAC, and there were guys building the roof out there. And I just like, I don't know. It just, if I was young starting out, you can make a lot of money doing that relative to the other young jobs. They're so hard to find in these like rich cities. There's not enough people doing the work, and there's especially not enough people with like the right good taste. I know you're going into electrical, but that's also, there's taste involved in that like refined, taste and everything and attitude. So I guess that would be my advice, but I'm not in a position to give advice because I've never done it. You know what I mean? So, but I think electrician's a good one. I think that's a good one because you're inside for a lot of it. You don't have to work out in the elements. Filmdesigns.com. I love filmdesigns.com for the domain name and you got an old fashioned like logo thing. It's so great. Do you have any particular plugins on your voice over audio? I sometimes use Isotope Nectar elements or Vocal Sync to clean or spice things up. Just curious to see if you have any go-to tools for your vocals. In the Final Cut, you can auto sync it. So I do that. Braxton taught me how to do that. You select both in events. You select the audio track and the video track, and then you right click and select synchronize clips, and it synchronizes them. So I do that, and then uh, I usually EQ it to take. It sounds very bassy on my computer. I usually I take the I take the bass down a little bit, and then and then also so you don't have the p and t so much, and then I take the treble so that the S's aren't so crazy. I think I take those down a little bit so that it looks like that. I think it goes like that, or it goes like that. Although I do feel like I pull up some of the stuff, the higher frequency stuff. Anyway, I do that, and then I like preset it according to where I am and what microphone I'm using. So in Final Cut, it'll say like Van Rode, which is the Rodecaster. Um, Actually, the mics I use for that are I'll just say Van Studio for that, and then the date, or Van Tascam, which is one of the like lavalier wireless mics that I use. And then I preset it and then click and drag basically. And then Phil, also you should end these questions with a bang. So do you do any impersonations? Oh my gosh. So this is the last one, I think. Do I do any impersonations? I must have been able to do them when I was younger. I must have had some that I could do. I don't think so. No one's ever said to me, "Hey Van, do like Christopher Walken." I know. I think everyone can do Christopher Walken. So he's like the guy. I think I have like my voice is in his range. Like give me the watch. Wait, what does he say? He's like, "Your father, Doughboy," whatever his name was. No, I don't have any impersonations. I should. But no, impersonations are wonderful. Okay, everybody, have a good weekend. I'm so sorry about the audio. I'm getting a new mic, and that's the end of that. That's the end of that nightmare. And see you next time. And hopefully next week I'll have something cool for you. Take care. Oh no, like this. Take care.